Indonesia launches the second home visa, and the retirement visa is still in effect. Stay tuned for details. Welcome to the latest news from Bali in Indonesia. This is December 22nd, 2022, and my name is Bruce. What is the weather like today? Well, it is cloudy and hot, 32.8 degrees Celsius here in Kampung Bugis in Singaraja, Bali. And the humidity is all the way down to 52% today. Wow, this is the first time it has been below the 60s in a long time. And wind speed is a very mild 6.5 kilometers per hour. And not a bad day. The clouds, well, they may turn into rain today, but we'll just have to wait and see. And what is the big news? Well, the big news is the second home visa, of course, and what is happening with the retirement visa. And so we're going to get right into this because I want to cover this as much as possible. First, let's take a look at the press release that came out the other day. Press release, Ministry of Law and Human Rights of Republic of Indonesia inaugurates second home visa policy. This is Indonesia. This is your second home. Welcome to Indonesia. So the Indonesian Minister of Law and Human Rights, Yasona Lawli, officially implemented second home visa policy in Indonesia. The inauguration of the policy targeting global investors and billionaires was carried out at the handover of the Wira Satria Immigration Patrol Boat in the launching of the second home visa in Bintan, Riau Islands on Wednesday, yesterday. The Ministry of Law and Human Rights, through the Directorate General of Immigration, will provide new facilities for global investors who wish to stay longer in Indonesia, namely visas and second home stay permits or second home visas. This policy is motivated by the phenomenon of migration of foreigners to Indonesia with various purposes and activities, one of which is to live in Indonesia because of its natural charm and friendly weather compared to their home country. Okay. Apart from that, because geographically and the potential natural resources and economic resources that Indonesia has, foreigners can develop their business and invest here. Yasona explained to a number of foreign visitors in Riau. The Directorate General of Immigration sees this opportunity to issue a new immigration facility to accommodate those foreigners with, get this, deep pockets. In its application, of course, it prioritizes the principle of selectiveness and the principle of benefit for the good of Indonesia. The selective principle is very important so that the sovereignty of Indonesian nation is maintained from threats, disturbances, obstacles, and challenges. This new program breakthrough is also followed by a new system that is expected to be a barometer of technology-based service delivery that is measurable, fast, efficient, and precise so that it becomes a benchmark for all technical functions both internally and externally at the Ministry of Law and Human Rights. Foreign citizens or guarantor who will apply for the second home visa can directly access the web-based application molinaimmigration.go.id easily and quickly. This one platform application is also an application for limited stay permit for second home for 5 years and 10 years, and payments are made online. Second home visa and stay permits have the concept of one single submission, which is to apply once for visa, limited stay permit, and re-entry permit so that when the foreigner enters Indonesian territory through the immigration checkpoint has been given an entry sign. Since then, the permit, limited stay, the ITAS of their second home will be published and sent electronically to foreigners' emails. In the circular letter signed by the Acting Director General of Immigration, foreigners applying for a second home visa must meet the proof of fund requirements of Indonesian rupiahs 2 billion or property ownership in Indonesia. Proof of ownership of funds at a state-owned bank or property certificate must be shown to the officer at the immigration office no later than 90 days from the issuance date of the second home permit. So you don't have to show the money right away. Second home visa holders will also be given a special queue line at immigration checkpoints at Batam, Soekarno-Hatta Airport, Ngurah Rai, Kuala Namu, Medan, and Juanda, Surabaya. So, wow, if you are a second home person, you get your own immigration line. Pretty cool. Only going to cost you 2 billion rupees. So that is the press release. And yes, so they launched this a few days earlier than planned, right? It was going to go into effect on the 24th, but they moved it up. Why, I don't know. I'm not privy to the Indonesian government and their ways, but it is in effect now. And so you can apply for this if you want to. But the big question is, for those foreigners who are retired and are on retirement visas, what's going to happen to us? Because according to the last SE that came out on the 25th of October, I believe, it said that you have to convert your retirement visa into the second home visa or get something different. Well, there's a change here. There is a little section, number 8. Holders of residence permits for elderly international tourists can still receive services based on the previous regulations until a further decision is issued. So for now, you're good. When is there going to be a final decision, a further decision? No telling. You just have to wait and see. Cup half full, cup half empty. On the forums, this is already everywhere, people talking about this, and the cups half full are, wow, super, I can relax, I can chill out, I can go now and have some fun and party and get ready for the new year. The cup half empty people, this is as clear as mud. This is just going to prolong my agony. I still don't know what's going to happen. Both of those are true. You can hold the same, two different ideas in your head at the same time. Okay, so it's good news. It extends the period. Things are not going to fall apart. The world's not going to end on the 24th for retirees, but there's no telling what's going to happen. Thinking about this positively, the government seems to be wanting to figure out what they're going to do with all of these retirees who are here on retirement visas but don't have the funds to put in 2 billion or buy a property that's worth, well, in Bali, I think it's 5 billion. And so what are you going to do with those people? Well, the government's trying to decide, I guess. And so we're just going to have to wait and see about that. But let's take a look at a few more things on this. This is basically the same as the 25th with a couple of exceptions. The big change is number 8, chapter 6, which I just mentioned. Holders of residence permits can continue to receive services until further decision has been made. So let's take a look at a few of these. Chapter 1, number 4, second home limited stay visa, hereinafter referred to as second home visa, is a visa not for the purpose of work, given to foreigners and their families who reside in Indonesia for 5 years or 10 years after fulfilling certain requirements. So not a change, but I'm just reminding you, this is not a visa that says that you can go to work. Second home limited stay permit, this is number 5. Hereinafter referred to as second home ITAS, is a limited stay permit not in the context of work given to foreigners and or their families to live in Indonesia territory for 5 years or 10 years after fulfilling certain requirements. Then there's a lot of stuff here about how you go about doing this, and that was in 25. None of that was changed. Note that the October 25th SE has been canceled. So that SE on October 25th said you're going to have to convert the retirement visa to a second home visa, or you could give it up or do some other things. But that's been canceled. So at this point, you don't have to do that, right? This is the main thing for people on retirement. Let's take a look at chapter 3. And holders of second home stay permit must report original proof of funds documents in the form of a bank certificate, proof of account at state-owned bank, certificate of property ownership in Indonesia, to the immigration office that issues the second home stay permit on time 90 days at the latest from the issuance date of the second home stay permit. So you've got 90 days, 3 months more or less, to show that you've got the funds or show that you've got the property. The obligation referred to in 1, which I just said, is excluded for followers. For followers, a spouse and children. Number 3 says the holder of second home stay permit is required to submit documents, legal and official followers as proof of having a family relationship translated into Indonesia by a sworn translator in Indonesia, except in English in the form of, and then it mentions what kind of documents. And so you have to have that translated into Indonesia. So your family does not have to pony up an extra $2 billion, right? You're only going to pay one time. This covers your whole family. This is if you are on the second home visa. Guarantee visa or second house permit. Application for visa and second home stay permit can be submitted by without a guarantor, foreigner independently, or a guarantor in accordance with laws and regulations consisting of individuals, Indonesian citizens, or corporations. Chapter 6, number 6. The change of status from second home limited stay permit to a second home permanent stay permit, that's going from ETAS to ETOP, can be implemented providing that you've lived in Indonesia for at least 3 years as the holder of a second home limited stay permit. So after 3 years of having the ETAS, you can change that to the ETOP, which then will be good for 5 or 10 years. And then there's number 8, as I mentioned already, about the residence for elderly people. And chapter 7, in closing, since the issuance of the circular letter concerning the granting of visas and limited stay permits for second home on October 25th, 2022 is revoked and no longer valid, this circular letter will be continuously evaluated or corrected as necessary if there are any mistakes in the future. If in the future they've noticed any mistakes. And the circular letter is effective December 21st, yesterday, 2022. So, is it thumbs up or thumbs down? Depends on your point of view, I guess. But let's look at it as positively as possible at this point. At least there is a stay of execution for retirement people, and we'll see what's happening. I'm taking this as they've extended this so that they can figure out exactly what to do, how they are going to structure permit for people who have been on the retirement visas. Okay, and now we've got 2 more segments that I was going to have in Monday's video, but it was just too long, and so let's take a look at those. There are 2,000 dogs in Jembrana vaccinated. This is the target to prevent rabies. 3 villages and 3 sub-districts in Jembrana were targeted for rabies vaccinations this week. Target, 2,000 dogs, as I said. And the idea, of course, is to reduce the transmission of rabies. The villages were targeted because they're in the red zone and have had repeated positive cases of rabies there. Head of Animal Health Veterinary Public Health, Iwayan Wadarsa, said positive cases of rabies in Jembrana last year from January to December, early December, reached 201 cases. The high cases of rabies demand vaccinations as an effort to suppress the spread. In addition to emergency vaccinations, when positive bite cases occur, mass vaccinations are also being carried out intensively. He said, this week we are carrying out vaccinations in the 3 villages mentioned above. Dr. Wadarsa said, so far when the rabies vaccination team was out, there were still residents who refused to hand over their dogs to be vaccinated, allegedly due to errors in receiving information about vaccines, for example, fear of the dog dying if vaccinated. When there is resistance to vaccination, the government officials provide education and information. The community usually ignores it when there are no positive cases, but when there are positive cases around, they finally ask for vaccinations, he said. In 2023, his party will continue vaccinations with more targets because it's been supported by the Jembrana regional budget for vaccine procurement, plus vaccine assistance from the provincial and central governments. And so good news, keep on vaccinating the dogs so they don't have to be put down and so humans don't get rabies. And to wrap things up, no Bule behaving badly, we've got locals behaving badly. Today, stealing a Caucasian bag, 3 friends arrested. And this was viral as well. So they were arrested by the North Kuta police on Thursday. They were 3 friends, they worked as construction laborers, and they were caught in Banjar Brawa. And the police made quick work of this problem after the complaint was filed by the victim. It took them only 5 hours and they managed to apprehend the alleged criminals with valuables worth 38 million rupiah belonging to a Polish foreigner. The bag contained an iPhone, the victim's passport, and 1 million in cash. The bag containing the valuables was left by the victim on the beach while they went swimming, and when they came back, they were surprised to find that the bag was gone. Okay, I'm not one to blame victims, but don't really think you should leave your bag on the beach while you're swimming. Even 33 years ago, when things were a lot different here, when I was down in Kuta, I would ask one of the vendors to watch my bag while I was swimming. So the victim looked around the area, couldn't find the bag, immediately reported to the North Kuta police, and the North Kuta police immediately responded and conducted an investigation. For those of you who say it's not worth talking to the police, filing a police report, this one seemed to work out pretty well. The perpetrators were arrested without a fight, so no hot lead for these guys. They're smart. They just gave up, didn't want to get shot in the leg. And from the perps, the police secured evidence in the form of a black sling bag, a black camera unit, and a necklace. 2 iPhone units are still under investigation, so they got some more stuff. So these guys apparently were already doing some dirty deeds before they got this Polish victim. When they were in action, according to the police, they split up the task. So there was those who took the role of taking over and those who played the role of overseeing. So they had a lookout and some people doing the snatching. These suspects are charged with Article 362 of the Criminal Code, which carries a maximum prison sentence of 5 years. Watch your stuff, especially if you're down in that area, because a lot of this stuff goes on down there. A lot of foreigners not always paying attention to what they're doing, maybe a lot of newbies, and well, good pickings for the criminal element in society. And that is it for today. We get a thumbs up for the retirement people. You've got some breathing room, so enjoy it while you can. Try to think about glass half full rather than glass half empty. I know it's not easy. And here we are getting close to the end of the year and a lot of activities going on in Bali centered around Christmas and New Year's. And wow, I saw a weird ad on Facebook the other day for some strange stuff in Ubud, and I'm just wondering what is happening to Ubud. If you're down in Ubud, leave a comment about what you think is happening there, how you feel about it. And just in case the monkeys are watching here, good luck on your travels. I think that personally, if I was you and I was your age and I didn't have kids and I didn't have any responsibilities here, I would do what you guys are doing. So good luck on your future travels, and I will be following your videos. And Bobo, love your stuff as always. Thanks for viewing. Be kind to someone today. Stay safe and have a happy, Merry Christmas. See you on Monday.